Hi guys. Welcome to the Alligator Lighthouse Swim Q&A for 2021. I tried to have my fancy background up, but it didn't quite work out. So we are making do with the outside background of my house. But anyway, so welcome. I want to kind of go through, basically the list of equipment of what you're going to need for the race. We're going to go over training from now until race day, because we do still have an opportunity to get some more fitness before race day. And we're going to talk about like techniques of swimming for the distance as opposed to swimming for something a shorter distance race. We're going to talk about nutrition and hydration. We're going to talk about next week leading up to the race, obviously the water conditions and perhaps animal situations that we might, encounter. And then we're going to talk about actual race day, logistics as far as pacing, as far as switching kayak to swimmer, and all those kind of good details. So if you can, go ahead and stop me. You can raise your hand with a little raise hand thing. And after each section, I'll answer questions, because I want you guys to have the opportunity to have those questions answered and not get forgotten. And this is not about the rules necessarily. Like, you still need to read the entire rules, packet, because there's details in there that I'm not going to go over. There, real quick about the rules is the different categories of racing, right? So when you go and pick up your packet, if you're planning on wearing fins or using a mask and snorkel, or a snorkel at all, or using leggings that go below your knees, you will be placed into the equipment category. And the big question my athletes had was, does a shark band, which is an anklet, count as equipment? And I do not believe that it does, because it's very small. It doesn't help you in any way race faster, but it lists shark repellents in the category of equipment. So I'm a little confused. So I was planning on bringing my shark band with me to the race registration to packet pickup and just ask them to clarify. But honestly, you are not going to see a shark. I promise you, they are there, but with 400 swimmers swimming at them, they're going to be gone like lightning in 2 seconds. And if one happens to swim by, it'll be a miracle if you are the only one out of 400 swimmers that gets to see it. So there has been talk about sharks and shark bands, but honestly, don't have to worry about it. As I've said, I've done this race 6 times. I've never seen a shark during the event. Have I seen a shark in the area when I wasn't doing the event? Sure, but not during race day. And if you're focused on your swimming, you're not probably going to see one, right? Okay, so welcome. So equipment. So we were talking about this because we've been practicing on the weekends with kayaks and the swimmers and stuff like that. So just what to have in the kayak with you, because you tend to typically run out of water. And that's one of the things that you mandatory have to have enough water. So you want to plan for at least a water bottle per hour. Okay, so a 24-ounce water bottle per hour. Now, calories wise, I highly recommend, calories wise, I highly recommend, you can get as much calories as you can in while you're swimming, but you're going to be alternating between swimming and kayaking. Most people are. So I recommend at least 100 calories every half hour or so minimum. And how you get that in is going to be up to you. So let's talk about gels, Cliff blocks, that kind of thing. I do suggest having a normal breakfast that day. And what to have in the kayak would be water bottles pre-filled and mixed with carbohydrate drink. I love Vitargo. That's the brand that I use and I'm sponsored by, because it's such a clean carbohydrate drink. It doesn't have a lot of chemicals in it, and it just works like a charm for me personally. And a lot of people on my team like it. They have plain, and I don't really like a lot of flavors, but I do like the grape. But any kind of carbohydrate drink works. I mean, Gatorade works, but it's not the most healthy thing. And I do not promote Gatorade, right? So, find something that works for you, but you do need carbohydrates in a drink form, because you're not going to be able to get it enough in, I don't believe, with just eating. And it's gonna go a lot faster than you think it will. So making sure you have enough food, enough calories, having enough water. And then having enough carbohydrate drink as well. I mean, every year that I do this race, I always am surprised when we're at the last 2 miles and not all my water bottles with calories are gone. And I'm like, how did I do that again? Right. So I'm determined this year to not let that happen and have an extra gallon of water on the kayak. We also purchased recently, a bunch of people in our group, we purchased some dry bags because I have had the kayak flip, you know, by accident, everything pops out and then you're running around, you know, swimming around the boat, gathering everything back. And if it's not floating, guess what? It's gone. So make sure that everything in your boat has something floaty attached to it. And it has a flotation device. I usually bring my GoPro and I'll have a floaty attached to that. And then, you know, because stuff happens, the kayak gets tipped, you know, if you're not exactly perfect with jumping in or jumping into the ocean or helping your partner jump back in the boat, there's a chance that you could flip, right? And having the strength to be able to flip it back over, you know, there are techniques for that. So, you know, leaning on one side and using your leverage and having both people like tip the kayak back over, it is possible. But remember, you're not going to be able to touch the bottom. Okay, so it's a good, you know, 20 to 50 feet deep, depending on where you are. Most of the time, you're going to see the bottom, right? So it's super clear. You know, you see sea turtles and tons of fish when you get to go around the lighthouse. And, you know, we kind of have a little bit of a who's going to get swim around the lighthouse? Because honestly, that's the best part. And it's like kind of exciting to see all the fish. And then you make that round, and you're like, yay, almost halfway done, right? So in the boat, just make sure you have everything you need. Now, logistically, it can, sorry, my dogs are barking. It can be a little bit tricky with the 2-person kayak and the single kayak, and then the rotation, right? Of if you have a 4-person team or a 3-person team. The 3-person team is actually pretty simple because you have a double kayak and then 1 person swimming, right? So then you're just alternating the swimmer. 2-person team, pretty basic. And then the 4-person team is where logistically it can get a little difficult if you're in the wrong kayak and that you're supposed to go next, but you're in the solo. That, you know, you might have to switch positions, you know, to make everything right as far as the order, but I would keep the order the same, right? So the same first swimmer and then second swimmer, third swimmer, fourth swimmer, and then you rotate. And obviously that would change if someone had an issue and they felt like, hey, I can't swim anymore, right? So there was a situation one time on one year where a swimmer just got really, there were jellyfish, and thankfully we have not seen any jellyfish as far as the big moon jellies yet. So I'm praying that it's going to hold off for the next couple of weeks. But this race is known to have jellyfish, but the last 2 years I've done it, we haven't had barely any jellyfish. So, but there was a case where the swimmer was just like, I can't do the jellyfish. Like they were just too intimidated by it. So the other 3 swimmers had to take over. So, you know, you never know what's going to happen, how people are going to react. But, you know, the goal is to finish the job, have fun. That's the most important thing. But have everything you need, be self-contained. If you're not going to have a support crew, on a boat outside, because you can't have a motorboat in with the swimmers. They used to let us. I used to do this race with a motorboat and we would just alternate swimming from the boat. But the last 2 years, they've made it, there's no motorboats allowed on the swim course. Okay, so any questions so far? I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff, but anybody? No?
Regarding food, you said Cliff Box and Jack gels and stuff. How about like regular food?
Yeah, whatever works for you. So for me, when I go horizontal, if I have a big peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my stomach, I'm gonna throw up, right? So I know that for me personally, that doesn't work. So I use sports nutrition during the event. Now I have a real breakfast. I'm a big fan of real food. So I'll have eggs and a half a sweet potato for breakfast, maybe with some almond butter or butter. I'll bring that with me to the hotel. So I'm not relying on hotel food. I'm not relying on anything that morning. I'm self-sufficient, right? In my hotel room, package it up, put it in the fridge, and then I'll eat that in the morning. I'll have 2 hard-boiled eggs. I'll have my half a sweet potato with some almond butter, and I'm good to go with my coffee, right? So on the race, for me, I can't eat real food, but I will be taking my perfect aminos because for me, that stabilizes my blood sugar. And I know that a little bit of protein, because it's going to be my goal, our goal, Kevin, I'm not sure what our goal is. We have to talk about it. Kevin's on the call, my partner. We're doing it as a 2-person relay. But we want to go. We want to do well. We're looking to place, right? So there's not going to be a lot of time for us to sit and eat a sandwich. You know, eating a sandwich and paddling, chasing your swimmer is a lot more difficult than, you know, having 3 Cliff blocks or a quick gel or having your calories in a bottle. So for me, it's sports nutrition. If you want to do something different, if you're going to have more time, that in the 4-person relay, that person in the front does get a rest, right? In the 2-person kayak, you do have more of an opportunity because the rear person, the person who's in charge on the double kayak is the person in the back. So make sure the next person swimming is not the back person, it's the front person. Okay, does that make sense, Monica?
Yeah, well, I thought you said when we were training with the kayaks that the person, we would be switching with the single kayak.
Right, so yeah, but how does that person get to the single kayak?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You're gonna switch kayaks. There's gonna be a time when you're not in that single kayak because otherwise it would be a 2-person race.
Right.
People, right? So you're just gonna have to logistically figure that out. So let's talk about, so we talked about equipment. Okay, so if you have equipment and you want to wear it, great, but you're going to be placed in a separate category. If you want to wear fins, if you want to wear, so I didn't know this one year and we were really upset because we thought we placed, but one of my swimmers had a skin suit, which I'll talk about in a minute, a skin suit that went below his knee. Okay, so you're not in a separate category if you wear a swim skin, it's like a thin, it's not neoprene, it's just thinner material that kind of blocks, you know, the water from hitting your skin and you do go faster. That's just the normal category. That's considered a bathing suit, right? But if it goes below your knees, you're put in a separate category because you do go faster if your leg below your knee is covered. Okay, so if you're going to use a swim skin or a speed suit is what I call it, that's totally legal in the normal category. You don't have to be put in a separate category. And if you have one, I highly recommend wearing it, especially if there are jellyfish, you'll be totally fine as far as at least your torso not getting stung. But honestly, there is a good chance that you might have a sting or two, even with not a lot of jellyfish, just because they live in the ocean. They're out there, right? So I would recommend a little squirt bottle of vinegar, like to have on the boat, just in case, just to prevent if you are burning a little bit, it'll take the sting right away, right? And you can always pee on yourself. So equipment, we kind of went over. You can't use paddles, obviously. You can't use fins unless you're in that separate category. Kayaks, we talked about. Go ahead.
Erin, you said you put floaties on your GoPro and your water bottles. What do you mean by floaties?
Well, the water bottle will float, right? But like if you have anything in the kayak that if you flip, it sinks, you're not likely going to get it back. Okay, so I have a flotation device that attaches to the GoPro. So if it flips out of the boat, it will float.
When you say water bottle, do you mean like disposable plastic water bottle, or you mean
like the full circle water bottle?
Right, but then you're suggesting that we bring 6 of those?
No, I was planning on bringing 3, and then you have your jugs of water to replenish.
Okay, because you said that you suggest 24 ounces per hour. So
Right.
I was like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
you're
for the 4-person team, you guys won't be swimming the entire time. So this is that, you know, so it depends. You might not need quite that much, but I know that a 2-person team will definitely need that much.
okay. And then are they providing swim caps for us for the
Yes.
race?
Yes, they have swim caps for us.
Okay. And then the vinegar, everybody should have vinegar on their kayak in like a squirt bottle, or?
I would, just in case, unless you don't really care about it. Honestly, I mean, I've been stung by so many jellyfish over and over. You know, it takes a couple minutes and the burn goes away.
Mhm. And then My main question is in regards to the rotation of swimmers and kayaking and the timing on that. And I'm on a 3-person team. What
Okay.
is your suggestion for, I know, well, I guess for 3 and 4-person, because the other ones, you guys, it's pretty simple
So
probably, right?
the 3 is pretty simple. So, okay, so let's talk about everybody. The beginning of the race, the first swimmer starts in the water with the ankle band on. Okay, so you have the chip on your ankle and you start the swim. And I meant to look this up because I forgot, Kevin, if you know, but it's either the first 20 minutes or I'm pretty sure it's the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes. That person has to swim the whole time. Ollie, it's 20. 20. Okay. So that person has to swim the first 20 minutes. And the idea is to get all the swimmers out of the congestion. There's a lot of people and there are waves. So you have to listen. I think the solo swimmers go first and then there's a wave category. So I think it's the solo swimmers, the double swimmers, the triples, and then the quadruples, right? The teams. But you got to pay attention and you have to swim underneath the arch because that's the timing chip. Okay. That's how you start. So this is a big tip. How are you going to find your swimmer? Right? So I luckily can recognize my swimmer's swim stroke. So, and it's pretty easy for just a 2-person team because I've got my eyes right on him at the start and we're going to be able to, I'm going to meet up with him as soon as possible. Okay. So, you know, having a flag on your kayak is a great idea, right? You do have numbers on the kayaks. All the kayaks have numbers, but honestly, they fall off all the time. So having something more like a dive flag stick and then putting a special flag on there, or maybe even a balloon to identify your kayak can help your swimmer find you as well. But the idea is for the swimmer just to swim straight for the first buoy and the kayakers to find that swimmer. Okay, so if it's a 3-person team, that's kind of easy. Strategy wise, I recommend switching every 20 minutes, even 15 minutes, if you care about your time. If you don't care about your time, switch every 30, you know. But I'll just tell you the story of my history through this event. The very first time I did it, we used it as a training for Ironman. We had 4 people. We each swam 2 miles. We got 22nd place. So the next year we started switching every 20 minutes. We got like 6th place. And then since then, I'm always switching every 15 and even 10 minutes at the end. And they've been able to get like top 3 in the category, right? So it just depends on if you care about how well you do, you want to switch more often, obviously, because it makes you faster. You can swim faster for a shorter period of time, consistently over and over and over again. The transitions do add up though. Lifting your body out of the kayak is tiring. So you got to take that into consideration as well. And I'm hoping Kevin has been doing lots of pull-ups and push-ups so that we don't have an issue there. Kevin, are you gonna say hi? He's like working.
Hi.
Okay. You've been training, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good. Just checking. So yeah, so that's the strategy of how often to switch. And it also helps you not be sitting in the kayak as long, right? But you know, you can it's fluid, right? Okay, so this is another quick tip about the strategy of the actual race event. You want to have a kayak right next to the swimmer so that the swimmer does not have to sight, because it's really, really more tiring to have to sight. And honestly, if it's wavy at all, you can't see anything. You go to sight, you're in a trough of a wave, you won't even be able to see the lighthouse. So if you have your kayaker, which is above the water, sitting on top of the water, and they're on the beeline heading for the lighthouse, and they can see the buoys more clearly, then you're golden. And all you have to do is breathe to the side that the kayaker is on. And sometimes I'll switch, right? So I like to breathe to the right for, you know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then I like to switch sides. So, you know, have the kayaker be the help as far as staying in a straight line. And there's kind of an illusion to it because you think you're going like straight, and then there's the side current and stuff like that. So the swimmer shouldn't be responsible. It's got to be the kayaker that's helping you stay on track. Does that make sense? Okay. Anything else about the race start? Let's talk about pacing. So pacing yourself, obviously, it's an 8-mile swim. So this is not a sprint distance race, right? And the better your form, the longer, the faster you go. It's super simple. So the more streamlined you are, the faster you go. The harder you catch with your high elbow, with your hand, right? You feel yourself catching the water, the faster you go with every catch, right? The more your kick is just consistent, not killing it, not blowing up, but just nice and consistent, the faster you go. And the more you get on your side to side, the faster you go. So form will always beat blowing up and pushing really hard. Okay. So water conditions, we just practiced on South Beach this weekend as opposed to swimming in Key Biscayne. Key Biscayne is like a freaking swimming pool, right? Compared to what we did in South Beach. South Beach, it was 1 to 2 feet, exactly how it is going to be in Isla Mirada. There's going to be waves, right? We're going to start, hopefully it's going to be a little glassy in the beginning, but the wind just picks up. I mean, you're out there a while, there's going to be some waves. I've only had one time when I did the race where it was like serious, bigger seas, but they did end up like kind of laying down, and which side to breathe on was affected. And so even though the waves were coming at us on a diagonal and I was trying to breathe away from the waves, they would literally go over my head and in my mouth. So it was actually easier to breathe toward the wave and find my rhythm with the trough so that I was in the right place, was able to breathe and then, get through the wave kind of thing. So, you might have to adjust as far as your technique depending on the conditions. Okay, so anything else about form, let's talk about training leading up. So honestly, if you're in a 4-person team and if you have not swam 2 miles, in an endurance long, slow swim, I highly recommend getting that done in the next 3 days. If you have not, and if you have, do it again. And if you want to, you can even include some pickups, right? So pickups would be like 50 strokes hard and then 50 strokes easy, 50 strokes hard, 50 strokes easy in the open water, preferably in similar conditions like in the ocean. If you're doing the 3-person team, I would recommend swimming 3 miles, a 5K, right? Laura did that last weekend. She killed it. She's totally ready for this race. She's been swimming, hitting all her training. So she's a rock star. I'm not worried about her at all. Laura, who else is on your team?
I'm with Louis and Carlos.
Okay, awesome. So Carlos did text me and proved that he's been training. So I'm sorry about all the beeping. Yeah, so he's going to be fine and he has experience. He's done it before. And so is Louis. So you're on a great team. You're going to be fine. Now, if you're on a 2-person team, I recommend swimming a little bit longer. If you have not, like 4 miles and even 5 miles, to do a little over distance and then really recovering next week and saving some energy, still swim, but maybe hold back on the volume after Sunday. So you kind of give those shoulders a rest and still swim 2 days, including some pulling sets and maybe stick to around 2,000 or 2,500, just to give your body a rest and let it be ready for race day. And then that solo person, I don't know any solo people swimming. And honestly, that's a huge challenge. I'm happy I have my teammate and I'm doing it with just 2 people. Okay, any other questions?
What about training the day before Friday?
Oh yeah, training the day before. So yeah, so you can swim right off. I don't know if you're staying at the hotel, but you can do a little like swim right there. And I would definitely swim at least 1,000 the day before, just to remind your body what it's going to be doing the next day. But I would probably take Thursday off, right? And really focus on sleep. So cool statistic. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to turn this thing off. Here, options. So what was the question? Oh, training. The day before. Wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
It's training the day before. You said don't do anything on Thursday and swim at least 1,000 on Friday.
Yeah, so sleep. Sleep is like your best friend, right? So even going into any kind of a race condition, the better you sleep, like the 3 to 5 days before, 8 hours would be ideal, the better your performance is going to be for sure. Okay, so sleep is just so important. Eat really clean, don't party until the race is over. Ideally, that's really where it's at. Not, I know you're in the Keys, but wait until a Saturday after the race to have fun. So pacing, we talked about. Switching, we talked about. Conditions next week, rotation of swimmers, nutrition and hydration. And I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, does anybody, I haven't seen the weather, but right now the conditions are freaking amazing. So if we have the weather we have right now, which is like 1 to 2 mile per hour winds, like it's going to be awesome. Oh yeah, I remembered.
Sunscreen.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen. Yes. Thank you, Ollie. So, okay. So you guys, you are sitting on the surface of the ocean when you're not swimming, and you will literally become a piece of bacon. Okay. Like a ride. Okay. I've seen people come out of that swim not having the knowledge about sunscreen, and they're coming from up north or whatever. And it's scary how sunburnt they get. Right. So please, please, please wear your sunscreen, put it on as soon as you wake up in the morning, go from head to toe, just one coat, right? Then you're going to have it in the kayak with you, and you're going to be reapplying the entire time, because every time you swim, it does come off a little bit. Please purchase a reef safe sunscreen with a physical block, not chemical. Okay. So chemical sunscreens cause cancer. And then you're in the hot sun, your pores are open, and then you absorb all those chemicals. But physical sunscreen like zinc works way better. You'll see a lot of people using Desitin because it has like 12% zinc oxide. I don't really like that because your skin can't even breathe with that stuff. So I love this sunscreen called My Shell, MY, and then SMY space, and then CHELLE. It's reef safe and it works like a charm. I free dive all the time and I do applications of it, not even over applying, and I never get sunburned. So it's pretty awesome. So sunscreen. The other thing, I would have an extra towel and a hat, like a bigger brimmed hat, while you're sitting on the kayak. So what I'll do is I'll be swimming. I have my swim cap on and have my goggles. I get in the boat. I put my hat on top, my wider brim hat, right? And then I'm eating and kind of getting a little bit of shade while we have push pedal kayak, which is kind of nice because our arms get a rest. And then I'll put a towel over my thighs if I'm not wearing my speed suit, but I will have my speed suit on covering most of my thighs, but even my shins and your feet will get fried. So covering up, oh my God, covering up your legs with a towel that's wet can also help keep you cool, right? And you can put it over your shoulders if you're super duper hot, but having some kind of like frozen water bottles or a cooler is highly suggested. So if you can get a cooler with an ice that actually stays cold the entire time, I mean, it will make a difference because it's going to be very, very, very hot. So like I said, I'll put my swim goggles either down or up and then be ready to switch again as needed. Okay, any other questions?
Yes. Can you tell us about, I haven't purchased the ticket yet, and I know you recommended it, and hopefully they're still available, but can you tell us about the awards dinner?
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. I mean, first of all, I mean, I know the hotel is sold out, but the host hotel, it's so nice to just like get up in the morning and walk out and then swim, right? You don't have to drive anywhere. It's very convenient. But if you're not staying at the hotel, that's okay. You can still purchase a ticket to the dinner. It's a very nice dinner. It's good, always really fresh fish and good food. And then you get to hear the award ceremony. And Lighthouse Larry is the one who started this race, and he is all about conservation and saving the lighthouse, obviously. But he does the swim solo every single year, so he's kind of famous, and he'll be there. So it's just a great event, and you don't have to think about it. You come in from the swim, you hang out by the pool, you take a nap, and then you go downstairs and you eat dinner, right? So it's kind of like a no-brainer as far as easy recovery food right after the event. Make sense?
Yeah, so that hotel was sold out back in June when I registered. So I'm thinking of the other hotel that was on the list, La Siesta. Is that with distance? Do you know?
I have no idea. Yeah, I know that there's like Maracay is the very last hotel on Isla Mirada before you go to the next key, and there's like 20 other hotels right there that are very, very close. So it's
Okay.
not like you're gonna be far away. Most likely, it's gonna be super duper close.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? We talked about switching. Oh, I would have something maybe if you're really tired of your sports nutrition, maybe having something a little bit more solid like beef jerky or turkey jerky, something salty, because typically you're in the ocean, that's what you crave. Not like potato chips or anything like that, because those are just gonna get soggy and wet, but something like beef jerky is pretty sturdy, but obviously no soy, right? So stay away from soy. There's plenty of jerkies that don't have soy anymore that you can choose from, but stay away from soy. All right, any other questions? Nutrition, training, equipment, and read all the rules, you know. You have to, pass by the Alligator Lighthouse itself, and then that's when you're tagged as far as your team. So your number has to be visible at that point if you want to be counted that you did the whole event, right? Oh yeah. And so the only person that has to have the ankle, you don't have to keep switching the band, obviously. It's the last person that has to swim underneath the arch, and then your time is done. And then you can have one person, I don't know if they actually have a finish line on land or not. It might just be the arch. And then you guys can, you'll come in with your kayaks, you'll put your kayaks back up on the ledge. Your kayaks will all be laid out when you first get there. The night before. And so it's a good idea to go and look for your number, because they're going to give you a number when you pick up your packet and see where your kayak is. And if they're not set up the night before, they will be by the morning start of the race. The race doesn't start till 8, so it's kind of a later start. But definitely want to have everything organized and in your kayak, and then you lower it down into the water. And then that swimmer, gets in the water and starts to warm up. All right, anything else? Lewis, you good? You're muted, so I'm unmute.
Hey, Coach, sorry. Just a quick question.
You look so
Regarding-
different with clothes on. I always see you like, in swim stuff, so that's why I said that. You look very nice, very professional.
Thanks. I wanted to, just a quick question, because I joined the call super late. I was in one meeting after another, but real
your
quick, the packet pickup, does it have to be on Friday, or can Laura pick mine and Carlos's up on Saturday?
No, she can. Is she coming on Friday though? Laura, you coming Friday?
No, I'm going for sure. I'm going by Thursday evening, so I
Okay.
can.
Yeah,
go
she,
get
she can
Friday.
pick up all y'all's. She can pick up.
Okay,
everything.
great. I'll talk to Laura afterwards, and maybe she can share all her insights with the group chat we just had.
And this is recorded, so I'm gonna send this out to you
Oh,
guys.
perfect.
Everybody who I have your email, but I think there's some people on here that I don't have their email. So if I don't have your email, you can just message me and I'll send this to you. But you probably have to send her your ID, like a picture of your ID, just
Okay.
for formalities and stuff like that. And then we'll find out about the truth about the shark band.
If any-
Shark Band.
Be there Friday during the day. Vanessa and I were talking about doing a swim, so we'll do 1,000, I guess, on Friday if anyone wants to join us.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
And this is Vanessa. The only thing I read on the site that you're not supposed to let someone else pick up your packet. So that's what it says. I don't know.
I know it says that, but yeah, so there are people that just simply can't get there the night before because of work, right? Happens every single race. They ideally by law, that's what has to happen. So sometimes I picked up other people's packets with their ID. I'll even Zoom, we'll call the person, but usually it's doable.
But aren't we all under the team name? So why would they not let me pick it up just because Lewis is the one that started the team? If my name is on that team, that seems, if I have it.
Formality. Yeah, it's just a formality. They want everybody there. They just want you there because there's actually a meeting that night. I highly recommend attending because there might be information. So for example,
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. One year we went and they announced that the race was cut short. So
Oh,
I wouldn't have known. I actually didn't even know because I didn't attend the meeting. So I showed up the next day and we're swimming and I was doing a 2-person team and I see everybody turning before the lighthouse and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, they cut the race short. Didn't you know? And I'm like, oh, you know, I didn't even take my own advice, right? I was resting on my laurels. So I'm going to be at the meeting and make sure that I hear any of the news that's going to be happening. And Laura, you can do that for the boys so that they're in the know, right?
Cool.
Okay, cool. Kevin, anything that you want to include? Because you've done the race every time, I think 6 times, right?
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything. I was trying to think of anything I could add, but I guess the only other thing is if you're bringing the kayak and
Yes.
not renting one, you have to get there in time enough. Usually the day before on Friday, you offload your kayak and set it up somewhere on the beach there, and it stays there overnight. And then
Yeah.
in the morning, you bring all your gear and load it up.
Exactly. That's a good tip. But Kevin, do you have your second kayak already loaned out?
Yeah, all our kayaks are loaned out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah,
Wait.
so Kevin owns his own foot pedal kayak. So it kind of does help if you're doing a swim race because you can get your shoulders to get a little bit of a rest. So
That's
yeah,
what
Laura.
because you mentioned that you have a push pedal kayak. Is that common? Is that what we rented, Lewis?
No, we rented a 2-person kayak, like the one that we had at the South Beach
Yeah.
or Miami Beach, but it's a 2-seater.
So you guys,
My-
I mean, it is advantageous because we don't have to worry about a paddle. We steer with like, there's a rudder and stuff. So, you know, it is a little bit of an advantage if you think about it for next year, you know, that's something to consider. And then the big thing is also, can you get in your kayak when you can't touch the ground? If you're not sure, I would recommend in your deep end of your pool, you know, pulling yourself up out of the water like 10 or 20 times over the next week. Because that's what you're going to be practicing doing, getting your butt, right? So you're going to pull yourself up and then put your butt on the side of the pool. That's basically what you're going to be doing with the kayak, except it'll be more of an unstable surface. And so we practiced a lot where the other person, so say Kevin and I are switching, he would actually get out of the kayak and be ready in the water. And then he would stabilize the kayak so I could get in really easy. And then he's off swimming and I start pushing, pedaling to catch up with it, right? So he's helping me get in so we don't tip the boat and vice versa. And, you know, I'm totally guilty of jumping out and being like, bye, see you later. And like, I can't do that, right? You got to be responsible to not tipping the kayak over, right? So practice pulling yourself up and out and then doing that booty twist to get your butt in there. There was a video Vanessa posted in my group chat. Rob, I'll send it to you. But basically for someone who is struggling a little bit more to get themselves in the kayak, the key was to get the belly button in the center of the kayak. So pull your body up and over. And as long as your belly button was in the middle, you can kind of roll over and then get in the seat. That was like a strategy that they had, which I thought was really, really helpful. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah, you could.
What happened?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi. We are renting kayaks, and I read that they have the PFDs in the kayak.
Yes.
Now, do we have to wear those, and what kind of PFDs are they?
I mean, Kevin, maybe you can speak to that. I know that I've never worn a PFD during the race, so I don't know. I think they just have to be on the kayak as a law, like as a flotation, you know, you just have to have one if you're in the water. Is that true, Kevin?
Yeah, that's the rule. It's a Coast Guard thing. You have to have one per person. And they're usually those cheap, square, orangey looking things. And they'll just be tucked in under the straps of the kayak. You don't have to wear them. I've never seen anybody wear them except if you have a dedicated kayak somewhere. Sometimes they will wear their own PFD that's more like a jacket.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a good point because honestly, there are people that just do the swim and they might even have just one person kayaking the whole time and they have a 2-person team and they're just having the person swim, you know, alternating the swimmers. And then that one person is still kayaking. You can have that too. You don't have to have everybody who's participating in the race doesn't have to participate. They could actually just be a kayaker. So you'll see people out there like that too. And honestly, having a little music on the boat can help. Having a waterproof speaker, and having your phone in a waterproof bag. You know, I do try to provide some entertainment for myself because it will be a long day. So,
Coach, real quick, what are your suggestions on a 3-person relay? How do we approach the kayak? You probably covered this already, but the person that's going to switch with the swimmer, you said that the person who's in the back is the one who's steering the boat. Does that
Yeah.
person ever move to the front?
yeah, for
It's like
sure.
a rotation or?
Yeah, so basically that's going to be the rotation. You have the swimmer in the water, you have the person in front. And what you can do is when the person that's done with the swimming comes in, that person in the front can take off. And if you can finagle it, you're going to move to the front and that person's in the back, right? Taking over your spot. And it's tough. You just got done swimming and now you have to paddle your kayak, but that's the race. You know what I mean? Or you can stay where you are, that person gets a rest. And then when the person that's swimming comes in, then you do the switch then, right? So then you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I would think it's kind of hard to switch 2 kayakers, you know, while they're on the boat from, you know, switching seats is going to be,
no, you would do it after one of them was in the water. One
Okay.
person in the back can scooch to the front. You can. You just have to be very careful. And then the other person could be stabilizing the kayak from the water while the other person is swimming. But then there is a little delay with you catching up. But, you know, usually if you have, you know, something identifiable, you know what your swimmer's wearing and stuff like that. And believe it or not, people lose their swimmers. It has happened. And I've had kayakers come up behind me and be like, have you seen? And I'm like, no. But there are officials on the side and boats on the side. And if you do lose a swimmer or lose your kayak, you can tell them and they'll actually communicate with the other boats and they'll help you guys get paired back together. You know, so be safe about it. Don't be so reckless that you're like, I gotta swim. I don't care about what happens. You know what I mean? Like, be smart about it. Have fun. Be safe. You know, it's a beautiful day. I love this event. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. And just, you know, we've had, knock on wood, great weather. So I'm looking for the same, right? And the only real issue, which I don't want to mention it again, but hopefully those things won't show up. Anybody else?
One more question.
Sure.
When you switch off, does the swimmer who is done swimming, does she have to touch the boat or the next swimmer? How do you switch off?
Yeah, so typically we have them touch the boat and then that other swimmer can jump in, or this next swimmer could be already in the water, right? Holding on to the boat, and then the swimmer comes in and then that swimmer can take off if you want to be more speedy with the transitions.
Okay.
Is there ever any, like, I know this probably sounds silly, but like kayak crashing? Does it ever get hectic?
Well, in the beginning, yes, because there are people that have absolutely no idea how to paddle a kayak sometimes. Yeah, so quick tip, make sure your paddles are facing the right direction, that they're actually pulling the water to you, past the boat as opposed to being reversed. Sometimes your paddle will be flipped and you won't even realize it because like, but why can't I catch my swimmer, right? Make sure the paddle's set up. But yeah, it can be a little chaotic just in the beginning, but as I said, they have the waves, so that helps people spread out. And you'd be surprised. I mean, I don't know if you were in the ocean on Sunday. We had like 50 plus swimmers and I swam completely by myself. I never saw anyone. So I was like, where did everybody go? You can spread out in the ocean, right? It happens. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you. I know you said no training on Thursday, but are we doing the open water swim on Wednesday out on Key Biscayne? Yes.
Yep. But I wouldn't go too long. I would focus on doing more like maybe some pulling and kicking and just tap into a little speed work, but I would not go over 2,000 yards at all. Like, it's just not necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to do the raise hand. How do you know when 20 minutes is up? Can we use the Garmin to like buzz or something?
Okay,
or?
great. Thank you, Vanessa. I meant to say that. So yeah, you can set your timer up. Mine is set on 500 yards. And I'm probably going to switch it, but it's your kayaker can be real helpful because sometimes you're like swimming and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've been out here forever. And then you're curious about how long it's been and you don't really want to look at your watch. You know, your kayaker can say 5 minutes left, right? 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. And that can kind of help you gauge, okay, in 1 minute, I can hold on and push a little bit harder than if I, know there's 10 minutes left, right? So your kayaker can kind of help you with that. And then using your watch and setting it up so that it beeps every 20 minutes is also, 15 or 20 minutes, depending on what you're doing, is a good idea. Good question.
Louis, you have a Garmin, right?
Hey, Aaron,
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What's up, Kevin?
yeah, I have a couple things I can add.
Perfect.
There are buoys every quarter mile,
Yeah.
and that's another option. You could swim a quarter mile interval buoy to buoy, and do a
Yeah.
transition. And usually when we get near the end of the race, we might do that.
Yeah.
That sounds
The other
good.
thing I want to mention is at the start, the person that's in the water swimming, they're going to be in the midst of all that chaos of a bunch of swimmers and kayakers who want to try to be up close. Don't try to be up close with your kayak. Move out to the right.
Yeah.
Try to visually find your swimmer and just stay out there and trust your swimmer to get through that chaos and pick them up at the other end.
Yeah. Like have a plan of like meeting up around that first, I think it's the first buoy that they actually put out there is about 20 minutes for most people. So they like intentionally set that buoy out there as a place where that could be your possible first transition. Good tips. Good tips.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and the flag on the kayak is a great idea, because if you can't find the swimmer, at least the swimmer will be able to identify you, hopefully, and find you.
Aaron, you've got full circle flag for us.
I know I should have full circle flags. Louis, can we get those printed in the next week?
Yes, just tell me how many.
For real? Really? Can we do
Yeah,
it?
I'll make it happen.
Oh
Can
my
we?
God, yes, let's do it. That'd be awesome. Louis is, yeah, he's great. Okay, cool. Let's
Sorry,
see.
quick question.
Yeah.
At what point do you know if you've it's too late and you haven't found your swimmer or kayaker yet? Like, is it that buoy, or what is the point where you're like, I need to stop and find them?
You don't really stop swimming.
Okay.
So the idea would be, the fact that they, hopefully there's something identifiable on that kayak. All the kayaks are different colors and stuff too. So having a bright shirt, like I'm going to make sure I have like my green, my fluorescent green full circle shirt, and, make a plan. I mean, I don't know who's going to be who's on your team. I don't think you should be the first swimmer, Vanessa, but just because it's your first time and you actually just started open water swimming like 5 weeks ago, right? So you should definitely not be the first swimmer. I honestly would think maybe Austin, just because he's super fast and he could get out in front of everybody and kind of like break up the field. And then you could just worry about, the transitions beyond that. Make sense? Yeah.
It does.
Because I don't want you to be, okay. So here's, the thing about the shark repellents. It says rules of the website: swimmers may use fins, snorkels, swim streamers, shark shields, or other shark repellent or protective equipment, safety rings, booties, or any kind of swimmer safety devices as they require or desire, but you're going to be put into a separate category. Okay. You're not in the basic swimming category if you do that. So you would not be eligible for an overall award, male, female, in the equipment category. Only in the equipment category. But I still am not sure about the shark ban, because that doesn't help you swim any faster. So I don't get it. So I definitely would want to. So the water temperature, oh my God, it's so hot, 87.5 degrees. So honestly, even wearing the swim skin is gonna be warm. So I'm probably gonna start with that thing, but I might end up taking it off. It ends up getting just too hot, Make sure you have tinted goggles, guys, because it is so bright sun. I mean, honestly, I like my blue tints because they are good in overcast or bright sun. You can get away with both. And I would definitely 100% have another pair on board, because what if your goggles break? We had that happen at least twice during a race where someone's goggle broke and they had to use one of my goggles, right? So definitely have extra goggles. Siesta is 1 minute away from Amara K. Someone found out.
So we can walk there.
Yeah, exactly. So sunscreen, water, we talked about hydration, a hat. I think we covered it up. Good job, you guys.
And the training for those of us that signed up, it's going to be in Training Peaks from now. And I know I asked you about Wednesday, but it's laid out, right?
Laid out. Yeah, it's laid out.
Okay.
And yeah, sleep. You mentioned sleep was your big priority. So keep it up next week. Okay.
I slept that 8 hours before Sunday's Dolphin and Rainbows, and I never slept 8 hours, and I was like so fired up.
Yeah, and you had a killer swim. You did so awesome. So, all right, cool. All right, well, we're excited. Where are you coming from? I forgot your first name. Rob Herman, where it says.
Yeah, that's my husband's name. Audrey Herman. I'm coming from Atlanta, Marietta.
That's right. And you have another girlfriend that's coming.
Right.
Right.
Meg is coming also.
Meg,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
Meg. And there's
yes.
one other guy that found me on the YouTube channel as well. And I don't know where he's from, but I'll forward this to him too. So yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope you got benefit from the training, and I'm excited to meet you. So let's definitely hook up when we're down in at the race site.
Okay, this is our first time ever, so it's a big adventure.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. You're gonna love it. I promise.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys, I think that's it. So like I said, I will send this recording out to everybody as soon as it's available, and we'll post it on YouTube as well. So share it with anybody you know that might be doing the race. Kevin, you're good. Everything. Anybody else have any closing comments?
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. All right, awesome, you guys. I'm excited to see you guys. Let's plan on definitely meeting up at the race sometime afterwards. And yeah, I'll be hanging around the pool afterwards, you know, waiting for everybody from all the different teams coming in. And it's just a great day. And then at the after party as well for the dinner, you know, come up and say hi if I haven't met you yet. Okay. All right. Bye, you guys. Have an awesome day.
Bye.
Hi, Aaron.
Bye, Kevin. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll send you a message with some details about my arrival, okay?
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good, Kev. Bye.
Thanks,
Have a great
Aaron.
day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Heather.